In a startling declaration that rattles the cosmos, Prylar, the pack-led ambassador to the Galactic Council, proclaims Earth as the most perilous homeworld known to the Council. Prylar unveils the existence of Terran anomalies, humans endowed with extraordinary abilities that defy scientific understanding and threaten to upend the delicate interstellar balance. These anomalies, he asserts, stem from an ancient alien experiment gone wrong, buried deep within humanity's genetic code for millennia. Earth's leaders, caught off guard by this bombshell, demand answers from the Council. Prylar details the alarming range of powers manifested by the anomalies, from telepathy and telekinesis to energy manipulation and matter transmutation. Fearing the unchecked spread of these abilities, the Council votes to quarantine Earth, severing all ties with the outside universe. The decision sparks fierce debate on Earth, with some viewing it as a necessary evil and others as unjust captivity. Amid the turmoil, veteran journalist Stephen Holmes launches an investigation into the anomaly's origins. He quickly uncovers whispers of a vast conspiracy involving not just the Council, but factions within Earth's own power structures. As he probes deeper, Stephen begins to suspect the anomalies are no evolutionary quirk, but the handiwork of an unknown alien force. The stakes, he realizes, are higher than anyone imagined. With Earth's fate in the balance, Stephen races to unravel the anomaly's secrets and confront the shadowy entities seeking to exploit them. Time is running out. If he fails, not only will the truth be buried forever, but humanity itself may be doomed to eternal isolation. Or worse, total annihilation at the hands of its own twisted creations. The clock is ticking, the doomsday scenario is set, and the future of Earth itself hangs by a thread. As the reality of the Terran anomalies sinks in, Stephen Holmes doubles down on his investigation, determined to uncover the truth behind their origins. His search leads him to Dr. Zara Vex, a brilliant xenogeneticist from Aldebaran Prime. In a clandestine meeting, Dr. Vex reveals her past involvement in Prometheus, a secret council-funded project aimed at unlocking the genetic potential of various species across the galaxy. They were creating super soldiers, Dr. Vex explains, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and regret. Manipulating DNA, pushing the boundaries of what was ethically acceptable. When I discovered they were experimenting on humans without their consent, I couldn't stay silent. Stephen listens intently, his pupils dilating with the implications. So the anomalies, they're the result of Prometheus? Dr. Vex nods grimly. The Council believes a war is coming, one that will engulf the entire galaxy. They wanted a weapon, and they found it in humanity. Armed with this explosive information, Stephen digs deeper, uncovering a web of conspiracy that threatens to unravel the very fabric of Earth's society. But as he and Dr. Vex work to expose the truth, they find themselves in the crosshairs of both human and alien authorities determined to keep the project under wraps. On Earth, chaos erupts as reports of anomalies losing control of their powers flood the news. In New York, a young man named Alex Roth accidentally levels a city block, his ability to manipulate gravity spiraling out of control. Similar incidents occur worldwide, from Tokyo to London, leaving destruction and panic in their wake. Stephen and Dr. Vex race against time to find a way to stabilize the anomalies. Through their research, they discover that emotional balance and strong interpersonal connections are key to harnessing the anomalies' abilities. They begin reaching out to anomalies around the globe, forming a network of support and training while simultaneously leaking their findings to the media. The revelations send shockwaves through Earth's political landscape. The Council's role in creating the anomalies and the looming intergalactic war sparks outrage and calls for a complete overhaul of Earth's relationship with the Galactic Council. As Earth stands at a precipice, the anomalies emerge as humanity's greatest hope for survival in an increasingly hostile universe. But with the Council determined to maintain control and rogue anomalies still wreaking havoc, the future remains uncertain. Stephen and Dr. Vex, now fugitives, navigate a treacherous landscape as they work to prevent the outbreak of a war that could spell the end of not just Earth, but countless worlds across the galaxy. In a dimly lit safe house on the outskirts of London, Stephen and Dr. Vex pore over a holographic map of known anomaly locations. Red dots blink across the globe, each representing a potential ally or a ticking time bomb. "We can't do this alone," Dr. Vex says, her eyes reflecting the map's eerie glow. "We need the anomalies on our side, working with us, not against us." Stephen nods, his mind focused. "Then let's get to work. We have a war to stop and a planet to save." Stephen and Dr. Vex's safe house buzzed with activity as anomalies from across the globe gathered, drawn by the promise of control and community. Alex Roth, the young gravitational manipulator from New York, stood in a corner, his eyes darting nervously around the room. Nearby, Akira Sato, the Tokyo pyrokinetic, practiced creating intricate flame patterns with her fingertips. "Remember, focus on your emotional center," Dr. Vex instructed a group of newcomers. "Your powers are an extension of yourselves, not something separate or alien." As Stephen observed the training session, a commotion erupted outside. He rushed to the window, heart pounding. A sleek black vehicle pulled up, flanked by armed escorts. "We've got company," he hissed to Dr. Vex. The safe house door swung open, revealing a tall, imposing figure in a crisp military uniform. "Colonel Thaddeus Raven," the man announced, his voice a gravelly baritone. "I believe we have much to discuss." Stephen tensed, ready for conflict, but Raven raised his hands in a placating gesture. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to offer a solution." Over the next hour, Raven laid out his proposal. He produced a small device no larger than a smartphone. "This," he explained, "can suppress anomaly powers. It could be the key to preventing further incidents and convincing the Council to lift the quarantine." Dr. Vex's eyes narrowed. "And what do you want in exchange?" Raven's lips curled into a thin smile. "A seat at the table. Earth needs a voice in this coming war, and I intend to be that voice." Stephen and Dr. Vex exchanged glances, a silent communication born of their weeks working together. They needed that technology, but Raven couldn't be trusted. A plan began to form. "We'll need time to consider your offer," Stephen said carefully. Raven nodded. "Of course, but don't take too long. The clock is ticking." As soon as Raven left, Stephen pulled Dr. Vex aside. "We need to get that device," he whispered. "It's our only leverage against the Council." Dr. Vex nodded grimly. "Agreed, but we'll need help." They turned to the assembled anomalies, explaining the situation and their plan. Alex Roth stepped forward, his earlier nervousness replaced by drive. "I'm in," he said, "whatever it takes to protect Earth." Others joined him, including Akira Sato, her eyes gleaming with an intensity that should have set off warning bells. But in the rush of planning, the signs were missed. Days later, as they prepared to execute their heist, alarms blared through the safe house. Stephen sprinted to the secure room where they'd stored Raven's prototype, his heart sinking as he saw the empty pedestal. "Sato!" Alex gasped, stumbling into the room. "She took it! She's gone!" The betrayal hit like a physical blow. Stephen's mind raced, calculating the implications. If Sato sold that technology on the galactic black market, Earth's fate would be sealed. "We need to move," he barked, turning to Dr. Vex. "How fast can we get a ship?" Dr. Vex was already tapping furiously on her comm device. "I have contacts. Give me an hour." As they scrambled to assemble a team and gather supplies, Stephen felt the weight of responsibility bearing down on him. They were about to leave Earth, to venture into the vast unknown of space. The quest to recover the stolen technology would take them further than any human had gone before. He looked at the determined faces around him, Dr. Vex, Alex, and the other loyal anomalies who had chosen to stand with them. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever cosmic horrors or alien wonders they might encounter, they would face them together. The ship arrived, a sleek vessel of alien design. As they boarded, Stephen cast one last look at the Earth, blue and fragile in the distance. He didn't know when or if they would return, but he knew that their journey had only just begun. The starship's hull groaned as it re-entered Earth's atmosphere, the fiery descent a stark contrast to the cold vastness of space they'd left behind. Stephen gripped his seat, squeezing hard, as the vessel touched down on a remote airfield outside of Geneva. As the hatch opened, the acrid smell of smoke and ozone filled Stephen's nostrils. Earth had changed in their absence. The skyline of the nearby city was marred by crumbling structures and the distant wail of sirens. "Home sweet home," Alex muttered, helping a limping Dr. Vex down the ramp. The xenogeneticist's face was ashen, her breathing labored. The battle against Raven and Sato had taken its toll on all of them, but Vex had borne the brunt of it. Stephen's gut twisted with guilt and worry as he watched her struggle. "We need to get her to a medical facility," he said, turning to the small group of anomalies who had survived their harrowing mission. Before they could move, a convoy of armored vehicles roared onto the tarmac, surrounding them. Stephen tensed, ready for a fight, but relaxed slightly as a familiar face emerged from the lead vehicle. "Administrator Chen," he called out, recognizing the head of Earth's newly formed Anomaly Integration Agency. Chen's expression was grim as he approached. "We received your transmission. Is it true about the Archon Directorate?" Stephen nodded. "It's worse than we thought. They're not just manipulating the Council. They're creating their own army of enhanced beings." Chen's eyes widened. "We need to brief the United Earth Council immediately. Follow me." As they sped through the streets of Geneva, Stephen watched the world blur past. Pockets of destruction were evident, the aftermath of rogue anomaly incidents and alien incursions. But there were signs of hope too. Construction crews working to rebuild and citizens going about their daily lives with a determined resilience. The United Earth Council chambers were a hive of activity when they arrived. Representatives from nations across the globe huddled in tense discussion, their faces lined with worry. A massive holographic display dominated the center of the room, showing a three-dimensional map of known galactic territories. Stephen stepped forward, all eyes turning to him. He took a deep breath and began to speak, laying out everything they had uncovered about the Archon Directorate, their alliance with Zorgax, and the looming threat of war. As he finished, a stunned silence fell over the room. It was broken by a holographic transmission flickering to life, the unmistakable visage of Prylar, the Packlet ambassador. "Greetings, Terrans," Prylar's voice crackled through the speakers. "I come bearing grave news. The Council has fallen under the sway of extremists. They speak of preemptive strikes against Earth and its allies. I fear we have little time." The chamber erupted into chaos. Stephen exchanged a look with Alex, both knowing what needed to be done. "We can't wait for them to strike first," Stephen said, his voice cutting through the din. "We need to take the fight to them." Alex nodded, his eyes gleaming with newfound tenacity. "The Grax Hill Nebula. That's where Zorgax is massing his forces. If we can strike there, disrupt their plans." Administrator Chen stepped forward. "It's risky, but it might be our only chance. I'll begin coordinating with our off-world allies immediately." As the council chambers buzzed with frantic activity, Stephen felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to see Dr. Vex, looking pale but resolute. "I've analyzed the data we gathered," she said, her voice weak but steady. "The Directorate's experiments on other species. I think I can counteract them, but I'll need resources and time." Stephen nodded. "You'll have whatever you need. We're going to need every advantage we can get." As they left the council chambers, stepping out into the cool night air, Stephen gazed up at the stars. Somewhere out there, Zorgax and the Archon Directorate were preparing for war. The battle that would determine the fate of Earth, of the entire galaxy, was about to begin. The distant rumble of ships taking off from the nearby spaceport filled the air. Earth was mobilizing, preparing for the fight of its life. Stephen clenched his fists, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. "Ready?" Alex asked, coming to stand beside him. Stephen nodded, his teeth gritted. "Let's go rescue the star systems." Stephen's eyes widened as the transmission from Dr. Vex flickered and died. The bridge of his battered command ship fell silent, the weight of their Pyrrhic victory at Grax Hill Nebula settling heavily on every survivor's shoulders. "We're too far out," Lieutenant Kira Chen said, her voice hoarse. "Even at maximum burn, we won't reach Earth in time." Stephen's mind raced, calculating options that grew more desperate by the second. The image of Vril, the Directorate's anomaly agent, sitting on the usurped throne of the Galactic Council, burned in his thoughts. Earth stood on the precipice of annihilation, and they were powerless to stop it. Or were they? "Get me a secure line to Administrator Chen," Stephen ordered, his fingers flying over the ship's console, "and prep the Prometheus tech. We're out of options." Hours later, Stephen stood in the cramped communications bay, facing a holographic projection of 5 faces. These were Earth's last hope, the Omega-level anomaly potentials. His protege, Jackie Devers, looked back at him with a mix of fear and commitment in her eyes. "You understand what we're asking of you?" Stephen said, his voice barely above a whisper. Jackie nodded. "We do, for Earth." The ship shuddered as it pushed its engines beyond safe limits, racing against time. In the medbay, Dr. Vex's team worked feverishly, prepping the Prometheus devices that would trigger the ascension process. Alarms blared as sensors detected the massive energy buildup of the Directorate's supernova cannon. Stephen watched helplessly as the potentials were strapped into the Prometheus machines, their bodies convulsing as the transformation began. The ship's view screens showed the terrifying sight of Sul, Earth's sun, beginning to pulsate unnaturally as the supernova beam took aim. Stephen clenched his fists, willing the ascension process to work faster. A blinding light erupted from the medbay, followed by an otherworldly scream that seemed to reverberate through the very fabric of space-time. The door burst open, and 5 radiant figures emerged, their forms nearly unleashed within the confines of 3-dimensional space. Jackie, or what had once been Jackie, turned to Stephen. Her voice echoed with harmonics beyond human hearing. "We are ready." Without a word, the ascended beings phased through the ship's hull, streaking towards Earth in a blur of impossible geometries. Stephen watched, heart in his throat, as they intercepted the supernova beam. The collision of energies was beyond comprehension. Space itself seemed to warp and twist as the Omega-level anomalies unleashed their full power. For a moment, it seemed like they might succeed without further consequence. Then reality tore. A gash of absolute darkness split the cosmos, expanding outward like a hungry maw. Through it poured shapes and entities that defied description, their very presence warping the laws of physics. As Earth hung in the balance, saved from one threat only to face another infinitely more terrifying, Stephen realized the true cost of their bold strategy. He turned to his remaining crew, their faces pale with the knowledge of what they had unleashed. "All hands to battle stations," he ordered, his voice steady despite the cosmic horror unfolding before them. "We're not done fighting yet." The ship's engines roared to life, propelling them towards the rift and the nightmarish entities emerging from it. As they plunged into the fray, Stephen knew that the war they had been fighting was nothing compared to the one that lay ahead, a war for the very fabric of reality itself.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.